Hello, good evening. This is Arlo bringing you a review of the European markets and the FTSE 100 primarily. Please be sure to visit my site. Apologies for the obviously lack of videos. I'm certainly back onto it. Homeschooling has kept me busy. Okay, in terms of the FTSE 100, then let's get into the FTSE itself. It is a key inverted head and shoulders pattern on the FTSE 100 potentially playing out, so just watch out for that potential reversal. Having said that, though, the fundamentals certainly were extremely bearish for the FTSE today. Okay, so in terms of the data for the FTSE today, weaker retail sales certainly casting a shadow on any potential growth. Unemployment numbers certainly higher than expected. IMF signaling out the UK being the worst, okay, out of all the COVID hotspots in terms of a bounce back in growth. And the COVID infection mutation certainly remain a concern, with the 100k mark being passed in terms of deaths. Now again, respect and obviously a prayer for all those that have died, over 100k now, and unfortunately, like I've said before, the Tory party is incompetent and there's been total mismanagement here, and a lot of these deaths, had we gone into lockdown earlier, had we had more obviously adherence to social distancing, etc., they could have been potentially prevented. But again, it's up to God, and we just have to accept God's will and certainly move on. Okay, so in terms of the markets, and let's just continue in terms of the fundamentals. Really, the only bullish factor for FTSE today really was the oil side, with regards to potential Saudi blast, and talk with regards to Iran and China as well, with regards to their tankers being seized. So keep an eye on that. That's obviously equation. The mutations obviously being a drag in terms of growth. Now lately the US has actually told its citizens as well not to travel abroad, and certainly closing the potential borders again. And again, obviously that all indicates and signifies a weaker growth going forward. So again, that is a potential risk-off scenario. So keep an eye on that front as well. Okay, in terms of the technical picture for the FTSE 100, the weekly chart still potentially remains bullish. You've got a big bull flag just consolidating for a potential rip higher. So keep an eye there in terms of the weekly chart. But can that continue given the mutations, given the bickering now amongst the EU nations regarding the vaccines? Certainly is something to consider, so bear that in mind. Okay, daily chart of the FTSE 100. Again, we've retraced previous resistance, equal support held at fib 61%. Potential argument here for a bull flag scenario, but given the situation with regards to high unemployment, given the situation with regard to retail sales weaker than expected, given the situation regarding the 100k barrier certainly being passed, certainly is a cause for great concern. So keep that on your radar as well. 60-minute chart, the FTSE, yes, there is an argument for inverted head and shoulders, provided the right shoulder holds. If you can get a higher low here, then obviously we can certainly rip higher up to 6,770 and potentially 6,800 as well. But in the meantime, the 6,700 certainly remains a key barrier, and the 6,600 remains the key support. 10-minute chart, the FTSE at the moment, you've got key resistance here at 6,700. Gap fill resistance at 6,715. You've got support here at 6,750, and then resistance here at 6,755 and 6,770, and then support on the downside. You've got gap fill at 6,640, and then obviously 6,610 support below. Okay, in terms of the FTSE. Now let's quickly cross-reference that with our European bourses. Very impressive thrust on the European bourses today. Certainly very impressive thrust. I have to certainly commend the European equities. Certainly seems to be a lot of cash obviously flying around, and it certainly seems like European equities are the place to go in terms of parking now. Inside day on the German DAX, so bear that in mind. Bears still obviously maintain control there, given the fact that obviously potential lockdown for France as well. Let's quickly look at the French market. Daily chart again, inside bar. One would argue that given the lockdown and concerns there, you are looking for potential flush and a move lower there, so bear that in mind. 60-minute chart, let's just quickly have a look here. In terms of the 60-minute chart, you've got the unfilled gap below at 5,395, so watch out below in terms of that potential gap. In terms of the French CAC, certainly remains weak in my book. Okay, Euro stocks, very impressive thrust in the Euro stocks again, given the pivot low at 6,540. One was expecting the support level at 3,525 and potentially cap fill at 3,500 to close. We've certainly thrust higher, okay, and looking for potential further weakness, so bear that in mind as well in terms of the European indices. So again, FTSE is the main play. This is the one that I mainly trade on a day-to-day basis, certainly oscillating between 6,700 to 6,600, and watch out for those key supports, and a potential inverted head and shoulders pattern can certainly unfold, but again, it would take some overtly bullish news. So again, let's see how the markets unfold. Wish you the best. Goodbye now.